Welcome, everybody, to the next session of our Logix Google AI Educator Series. Today, we're focusing on an introduction to Gemini for education. So again, to reiterate, we brought this up in our intro session that the goal of Gemini, the goal of Google and Google itself isn't to replace the essential human elements of learning and teaching, but to support educators and to make learning more effective, efficient, and engaging, not just for school, but for work and lifelong curiosity. And so again, today's learning objectives, we're narrowing down on utilizing Gemini, to naturally automate instructional best practices. So you can see the ISTE standards that we are connecting with. We're going to set some professional goals. We're going to look at accommodating learner differences. And then as together, whether you're in a faculty or a K-12 role, what does that mean to design learning opportunities in an ethical and responsible way? So again, for us, we're going to kind of revisit a couple items in the session introduction. We want Gemini to be your heavy lifter, your thought partner, to come together to keep that human at the center, that you are the one driving it, not it driving you. So we can be a learning conductor, and that generative AI aspect represents a shift from a simple search tool, even though AI and the search feature within even a Google search is there. We are going to use this to kind of be our personal AI assistant or thought partner, like we mentioned. Again, overviewing of what AI, generative is the keyword. To generate new text, to generate new diagrams or images, new video clips or music is key to what this is. But in our introduction, we really didn't dig in too far onto what we wanted to do in terms of what is AI and what is a large language model? What is a GPT? So you're going to hear or see acronyms such as LLM. A large language model is that data set of information that is being provided to you. But a GPT, if you didn't know what the acronym stands for, it's a generative pre-trained transformer. You probably have heard of ChatGPT, and that is the first one that really came out of the gates in the generative AI era. It's kind of like the Kleenex of facial tissue, meaning that a lot of people refer to being in a GPT as ChatGPT, where we are referring to those as large language models, and GPTs are such as Gemini, are such as Copilot, and other ones that exist. So generative meaning it can make new text or different output. It's trained on that data set. It picks up patterns, and then it transforms through this neural network, as you can kind of see flowing in the image right here, to understand how it all fits together. So with Gemini, we're just going to kind of give you a little quick overview on the video here. There is no sound, so that's okay. You don't need to turn it up, but just a little high-level overview of what it is. Oh, there's. All right, just a high-level overview, quick things. You probably spotted some things in there, whether it was searching or helping you as a person moving through some of those key day-to-day tasks that you have. You might have picked one or two things out within that. And so what does Gemini do? Well, there's many aspects to it. And these are some things that you may see as you're clicking around today. We're going to focus on the chat feature, but in the additional features within Gemini, we're going to be highlighting these throughout the series, such as Gemini Canvas, the deep research aspect, guided learning, and then the idea of creating images or videos to help support. But today is really about just you getting used to the chat feature, having that conversation with your chat within Gemini and getting an output based on what will be productive for you in your role. So what we're going to do is we're going to connect it. There are many different kind of acronyms that relate to prompting. And as we go through, we're going to keep these in our mind, where we use the parts framework to kind of help you iterate and bring together and get what you want out of your prompts in and input into Gemini. So for P, we have persona. We're going to kind of give that instructions of who you are, what you want it to act like, and then what you wanted to come out of it through the aim and the recipients. Like, who are you targeting? Is it for students? Is it for parents? Is it for other educators? And then is there a theme or structure? Do you want an output that is an infographic? Do you want something that can go into a spreadsheet or even just in bullet form? We kind of have to let Gemini know how we want it to be. The instructions we give will get more complex as we go, because if we just ask it really open-ended questions, we're going to get really open-ended responses. And of course, above using that, we're going to keep the human in the loop, and we're going to be safe and responsible. We're going to keep an eye on putting in our personally identifiable information, and we got to make sure that what we are asking of it is humane. And so before we get into the demo of some of these tasks for you, I just remember when you get logged in, we're going to give you a few moments to get logged into your school or board or district or division account. And I'm going to kind of go between why you want to use that. So typically free tiers. So what I mean by free tiers is that you are just going into a site and using their free model. You may or may not be creating an account at that level. And the reason why it's free, just like when we play different apps and games, there's ads everywhere. In this case, they are using the information that you have to train on that data and form their model. So what I mean by that is that you're helping them by them giving you a free template to use and a free platform to use, that they're using you and your model by how you're asking it, what you're providing it, to make it better. In education, just in general, there are safeguards in terms of what companies can and can't use explicit to the data, as well as the models within Gemini or anything. They do not use that to train the model to make their tool better. So therefore, we want you to be able to use your school board or district account and not be using your personal account for this when logging in, because when you're thinking school, you should be using your school account, and what you choose to use for your personal level, you can use at your own choice. So what we're going to get you to do as in a moment is sign into that, and we're going to kind of jump into a demo a little bit, and it's really going to focus on kind of reducing cognitive load. What does reducing cognitive load mean? That means that we want to, take some of that task and stress off of our brain, because we can output it in a way that we're able to get support and hopefully streamline and save time. And you can kind of see some of the steps that I'm going to model along the way. So in terms of practice, first of all, I'm going to kind of model for you what I'm going to do, and then you're going to get a chance to do this in just a few moments. So first thing, is what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back a little bit and I'm going to model for it. But this is going to be where we're heading with it. So you can kind of get a sense. You're going to get logged in. You're going to be able to do some of these items as we go back. So just kind of going back into our demo piece, I'm going to open up Google Gemini. I'm going to make sure that I'm logged in to my school board account. And then in this demo, the initial prompt is going to be explain the greenhouse effect in one paragraph. So I'm going to flip over to Gemini. I have it open up here, and I'm just going to simply, I've saved that prompt beforehand, put that in, and just generally ask, explain the greenhouse effect in one paragraph. I'm going to see what it's going to come up with. I'm not changing any of the options on the side. It's currently in Flash versus Thinking versus any Pro opportunities. This is the simplest and one you'll probably use most of the time. So explain the greenhouse effect in one paragraph. So you can see how quickly it comes up, and it's one paragraph. Do I want to read it? Of course. Do I want to verify some of those items? For sure. And so as I'm trying to go together, and maybe I'm planning for any lessons or I'm doing anything, I now want to kind of say how I'm going to pick that up in a way that can help tailor it to my students when I'm learning or to the task at hand. So I'm actually going to kind of go into the reduce cognitive load kind of summary area, and I'm going to pick up the grade 5 example in a moment. I taught grade 5, so here we're going to see now rewrite that for a 5th grade student using a helpful analogy. So now I'm kind of iterating. I'm starting to dig in a little bit, and we're going to see what it pops up with. and see, oh, it even popped up a video on an image on this one, which was neat to see without the prompting. So imagine Earth is wearing a big cozy blanket. So what analogy on that? The sun shines down, and that's great to bring out to point out for me. Now I do want to kind of see how I want to kind of pull this out, and even though it provided an image, I kind of want an output that's more maybe of like a comic strip or something like that, or an infographic. So I'm going to say, give me an outline for a 4-panel comic strip that explains how greenhouse gases trap heat. So I'm going to see what it comes up with as I put this in. And so it's giving me the breakdown of what that panel could be, and I could prompt it to actually put it into an image. So sometimes the way I prompt it might just give you what each of the panels should be versus what might be an image, but that's a good breakdown of it from it. So that's just simply if I just wanted to put it on a slide or have an image from it. But what if I wanted to get the students to learn something, and I needed some brainstorming on like some sentence starters, or to do something that's applicable and connected with the world around them. So I'm going to throw in an example here. Come up with 5 sentence starters to help students write a letter to the editor about protecting the atmosphere. So we want them to get in writing. We want them to get into that sort of persuasive piece, and they're going to write to a local media editor. And this is going to come up and give me some examples and some things that we can do. A call to action. If we take strong action today to protect our air, we can ensure that future generations ... To protect our atmosphere, our local leaders and community members need to start ... So these are 5 different sentence starters that the students can use to support what they want and that kind of kick them off in the right directions. And then in general, I don't have to take that and say, oh, those are the best 5 sort of sentence starters. I can say, well, thank you, that's a great start, but please make them more persuasive. And now you're going to get those sentence starters, and they're going to change a little bit, but they are upgraded. And you can say, we cannot sit back and wait. Our leaders must immediately commit to. All right, that's a little bit more functional and kind of more grabbing from that headline and first sentence starters. And even number 5 here, protecting our atmosphere isn't just an option for tomorrow. It's an urgent responsibility today because. So these are something you can do and kind of continue to iterate from yourself. So just from a simple sentence prompt, such as explain the greenhouse effect in 1 paragraph, we've kind of got a start to our lesson and a way to dig in as the students had already learned their information. And so we assume that in this case, they've gone through the learning cycle and understand a little bit more about the impacts of the greenhouse effect on our environment. And now they're ready to apply it in a real world context. So I'm kind of just going to reset a little bit because I want to use the same example at maybe a higher level. I'm thinking maybe more high school or even into post-secondary or higher ed. So I'm going to start the same thing in terms of explaining the greenhouse effect in 1 paragraph. So I'm going to restart here. This completely different chat in Gemini. And it's popping up, and it's even put the image right off the bat, and as opposed to the second prompt. So it just proves to you that it's creating new pathways each time. It is generating new pathways. Now I might kind of throw it into see how deep it can go. So I'm thinking higher level grades, specific courses. Now rewrite that as a technical abstract for an environmental policy course or a unit. So now it's thinking, and thinking is good. It will take longer and longer as we kind of go through. And here's the abstract to that in that 1 paragraph. You can see that it's increased in terms of terminology and vernacular. Then I might ask it, kind of going into a little bit of a research mode a little bit, is provide a case study outlining and exploring the economic impact of carbon emissions on developing nations. So instead of last example of creating sentence starters, I'm now looking at this in a way where it's kind of using some research context, pulling in some frameworks for me to kind of say, okay, I'm getting this breakdown. I'm getting a sense of where I should focus, what I might do, what I might teach even. And then if we're digging in on this, we might want to think about assessment in ways that allows you to kind of create and co-create what the look fors and anchor charts are for your students. So I might even start talking about creating a rubric. So create a structured rubric for a 1,000-word argumentative essay or writing on climate mitigation strategies. So I'm going to kind of do that, and you're going to see that as it goes through, it's scoring. Like, you can change all this. Like 18 to 20 points for myself and where I'm coming means nothing. But it may to you. In yours, where I look at levels based on being in Ontario, but you can change this. That's the biggest message, is that you can change what's on there, and you can look at these different structures. You can see it's advanced, developing, that type of thing, what it might be. So you can kind of see that there's a structure that it's kind of going in from like a 4-point rubric here. And then ultimately, maybe that rubric isn't speaking to me. I can continue to iterate that rubric and say, adjust the rubric to place more weight on the evidence and research section. So instead of just being evenly distributed, I want it to be able to bring that out. And then it's going to say, okay, this is what I've done. And as you go down, that's great. And I think at the bottom, sometimes it tells you exactly how it changed. So there's the weighting and then what it might do. So you can still continue to change it and iterate it. But I always do get questions on, well, how do you export this? What do you do with it afterwards? And I do want to highlight these more options, those 3 dots at the bottom, where you can say copy or export to sheets. So I'm going to click on export to sheets for the moment, and that's going to kind of start creating the sheet on the left-hand side. And in the moment, I'm going to show you how to copy this. It'll probably be by section. I've already opened up a Google Doc here for you, and I'm simply going to copy and paste. And you have that ability to take one of those sections and bring that the way you want it. You can also, in your sheet here, scroll all the way to the bottom and choose how to export this to docs, which will then open it up in a way that has the whole conversation ready to go for you, and you can bring it that way. And then that ability to, when the sheets went on the side, I'll probably bring that up. Creating a spreadsheet at the bottom, just to kind of see how it gets structurally in there for you. Open docs. And here's the doc that's coming up in the Google Sheet there, just because I had done 2 things at once. Now you can see at least that it's here in the Google Doc as you go through. Okay, so that's a lot of modeling for us. Now it's your turn to practice. And so we're going to give you 2 minutes to do a couple things. I'm going to start the timer right now. And first, you're going to think of a topic or a subject matter that you have taught or will be teaching. I want you to kind of pick or isolate one of those ideas, one of those core ideas that your students always have difficulty with it. So example was the greenhouse gases, that greenhouse effect. And I want you to lock that into your mind. But in the meantime, I want you to go to gemini.google.com and to log in with your school email address and account. And your next prompts will come in just 1.5 minutes. See you in a few moments. Welcome back, everybody. We're getting ready to jump in and do some of this work on our own. So here we go. We've got a little buzzer there for you. And your turn. You've already opened gemini.google.com. So your prompt is very similar to what we have given you with explain the greenhouse effect. So you can write in the chat by going here into your Google Gemini and clicking on new chat at the top, and you'll get a fresh new chat box here. And this is where you're going to put in the initial prompt, which is explain the whatever topic or whatever concept you've chosen, and in whatever format. For example, one paragraph. So if you wanted to model off of the example we just gave, explain this concept in one paragraph. Allow it to come up with something. And then what you're going to do is allow you to ask it questions or change it in different ways. So the suggestions here, such as explain it in 3 different ways, as a story, as a step-by-step process, as a visual representation. Tell it what you want it to do. And then you can see the scaffold prompt about sentence starters in a very similar way, or the structured rubric that we kind of gave an example with at the high school level. And then even refine it at the end and say, that's a bit too formal. Make it more conversational, engaging for my students. Tell it to be, you can change the language. So we'll give you 2 minutes to throw that in and try it out. And then we will celebrate our successes and finish up the session. Welcome back, everybody, and thank you so much for giving this a try and bringing it forward. If you need more time, of course, you can pause it or revisit it anytime, even after this session is over. And so hopefully you had success in at least iterating, asking a question, see what it's strong at, what maybe you can ask differently the next time. And if you have any reflections on how this could apply to you, we're looking forward to hearing all about it. So first of all, we talked about that automated support, and we also the bridge, how Gemini is part of that. It bridges our connections toward it. And then the keyword of first draft is huge in all of this. So the question is, are you ready to certify your skills? Well, it's only been, not too long since we jumped into Gemini, but that's the strength of what the Google AI Educator series brings. It allows you to kind of take these little snackable and stackable bite-sized sessions and then say, I'm going to chunk it, and then I'm going to feel good that I've been able to do it. So these are the ability to walk away with something tangible. And so you can see the URL, the goo.gl/GES1. That's going to bring you to this area right here, Introduction to Gemini for Education. So remember, we did the teaching today for you. If you want to, of course, you can go in and it will say visit learning, and you can go through the modules and for yourself if you need to revisit it. And then there would be to take the badge. In this instance, I have taken the badge and attained the badge for Gemini for Education. But if I bring it back a level to where all of our Google AI Educator Series modules are, you can see that the Gemini for Education, the introduction to Gemini Notebook, or as called Notebook LM here. But as I scroll down to other ones, you can see there's Start Learning and then Earn Badge. The Earn Badge, they're a quick multiple choice questions based on the content you learned. So it is simplistic in that nature, and you can always go back and revisit it. But just by sort of paying attention and connecting the dots, you should be quite fine. And when you are successful, you can take it multiple times. You'll be able to kind of see a badge that has it for each of these content and topic areas. So I'm appreciative that you have spent the time today and for yourself to be able to attain one. And you can put those on your own email chains and footers, or wherever you want to share them loud and proud. And of course, with the Google AI series, today focused on Gemini for Education as an intro. We value your feedback to be able to guide the future series, as well as to ourselves as a company. So please take a few moments to use this URL or scan the QR code to provide that feedback for us. We would be eternally grateful. And with that, thank you. And we look forward to continuing the series modules as we move forward.